You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hammock Hangers Podcast. I am your host, Paul Collins, or also known as Skunkape. I have got AJ Glenn, or also known as Pheonix, with me.
Hello, everyone.
And this week, we actually have a guest, so you're going to be able to hear more than just me and AJ ramble back and forth with each other. And our guest this week is Chris Haley, and he is one of the organizers of the MidHHA hang up in Pennsylvania, correct, Chris?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the Allegheny National Forest of Western Pennsylvania.
Awesome. All right, well, we will get into talking about the hang and all that here in just a few, but to start off, let's get to know you a little bit better and just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into camping and hammocking and all the good stuff.
Sounds good. So yeah, my name's Chris Haley. I'm a philosophy professor, kind of part-time, and got into hammock camping about, this thing is 2015, I believe. My wife and I, and a few of our friends, we were real big into kayak camping. We just started getting into that. And there's a lot of, obviously, from around Pittsburgh region, so all around Western PA, there's a lot of rivers, a lot of islands to camp on. And so, we started doing that. And my first trip out, I had my kayak just loaded so heavy with, we had like a 6-person pop-up tent. We had I was floating so low in the water, and it was pretty bad. And, I was like, there's gotta be an easier way to do this. So I started, finding out about hammocks, and I found the hammock forums, and, I'm very much a DIY guy. So I started just buying the fabrics and, looking at a lot of tutorials on there. And then as I'm stumbling around on there, I find the one of the postings for advertising the MidHHA, the spring of 2016. Okay. And I remember saying to my wife, she was in the other room, I'm like, there's a bunch of lunatics that get together and hang a bunch of trees together in the hammocks. And she immediately is like, oh, we're going. We're going to be those lunatics. So, yeah, that's kind of how we got into it.
Okay.
So did you have a camping background, let's say growing up, or was this something that you came into later on?
Yeah, a little bit as a kid. I did all through, Cub Scouts into the first couple of years of Boy Scouts. My father was a Methodist pastor, and he was like our troop leader for a long time. And then we, moved at some point, I think in middle school, and I just kind of dropped it and didn't get back into it. And so, other than maybe a couple of trips with friends in high school, but and then once I'd always wanted to get into kayaking, and once I bought a kayak, I was just immediately like, I should camp with this. This is a good, opportunity to get out to do longer trips on the river. And, so I was a little nervous at first that my wife wasn't going to go for it, but she's been a trooper. Like everything I wanted to try out, she's been right there with me, and it's been pretty awesome.
That's awesome. So she likes hammock camping as well.
She does. She loves it. She's always, she's pushing me to go further and, camp colder and do, she's a trooper.
Awesome. As far as her background with camping, had she done camping prior to also, or is that just something that y'all
really
started doing together?
Yeah, we started doing it together.
Okay.
Yeah, as a kid, that just wasn't really a thing that she's from the South Hills of Pittsburgh, and just kind of a very more urban environment, didn't have the same kind of experiences camping, but
gotcha.
Yeah, but she's taken to it very well. So
that's awesome.
I know kayak camping is kind of popular with, our, I'll refer to them as our HangCon inner circle, I guess. Our buddy Matt, or Waterboy, who's actually also from PA. He's from I want to say Altoona, Pennsylvania. So he does a lot of kayak camping with his son, who I think he just got his Eagle. So
awesome.
I know their troop did a lot of kayak camping. Like that was, it seemed like that was their preferred method of trips and things like that.
Yeah.
And our Captain Carry On, our camp cook or chef, he does a lot of kayak camping on the Swanee River, and that's really kind of one of the ways that he got into hammock camping.
Sure.
Was kind of the same thing. You know, you've got a bunch of stuff loaded up in your kayak, and with a kayak, you're not necessarily as weight conscious as you would be maybe like backpacking, but space and weight is still a factor. So yeah,
it makes sense. You said he was a chef, and if you like to do any kind of cooking in the woods, it would be awesome to be able to take a lot more gear with you in a kayak than you can carry on your back.
So now, when you discovered the hammock, have you gone back to using a tent since then, or is
never.
it?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I've sold that.
Nothing but hammocks.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's funny because that's the story we hear, you know, from everybody, and I mean it's our story
the
as
vast
well.
Majority,
you know. I mean, whenever I was younger, of course, you know, it was tent all the time, and then 'cause I didn't know anything about hammocks.
I didn't know any better. Yeah.
You know, but once I found hammocks, that's all it's been. You know, I like comfort.
Hey man.
I think hindsight, you know, thinking back on my time in the Scouts and all those camping trips that I went on that were just utterly miserable because of like a flooded tent or, you know, a leaky rain fly or something along those lines. If only I had known about hammocks then, just how remarkably different my camping experience would have been. And I mean, not to say that deterred me in any way, because, you know, obviously I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
But just the utter enjoyment of those occasions would have been so much more fulfilling, not being, you know, soaking in a pool of my own sweat and because the flood or, you know, flash flood came through or something along those lines. So.
Exactly.
Although I did have one kind of flash flood incident when I was hammock camping. My wife had bought me, I think from a Black Friday deal from Hammock Gear. I got a 12-foot, you know, Dyneema tarp with doors.
Okay.
And so it was a Christmas present, and I was just so itching to use it. And there was this kind of freak warm weekend in January one year, and it must have been like 2018. And it was like 60, 65 degrees on the weekend. And I was like, I'll just go on a short hike nearby. I'll hike like a mile or two in, set up for the night, test out the tarp, you know, come out in the morning. And, you know, I set up, ate dinner, went to bed at like 8:30, and, you know, it's raining, and it was so loud on the tarp. I hadn't had a Dyneema tarp before and realized how, like, you know, like gunfire the rain would be on it. And, yeah, but I pass out, I sleep for, you know, and like around 4 a.m., you know, it's time to get up and do your business. And I like unzip my hammock and I reach out and I go to grab my boots and they're not there. So I like reach a little further and my fingers hit water and I'm like, oh no. a pond had like sprung up under my hammock and my boots had washed away.
Oh my. You slept through it too, huh?
Yeah, I slept through it. So it was, that was intense. My underquilt was like soaked and that was not a good morning,
but imagine how bad it would have been if you were in a tent.
Oh, for sure. I would have, I would have washed away in the
You would have floated away with your boots.
I would have floated away. Yeah.
The story would have sounded a lot like.
All they would find would be the boots, but yeah.
Right.
So while we're talking about gear, kind of what is your setup that you're currently rocking?
That's what I was fixing to ask.
Yeah. Great minds, you know. Yeah, so like I said, I'm in the DIY kind of route, but I really like a lot of the features of the Chameleon, or I should say that I really hate making bug nets, and so what I usually do is just
preach.
It's the most annoying thing in the world. So I just buy, you know, whatever fabric I want to try, and I'm very grateful that Dutchware sells the zippers that they use on the Chameleon. So I can just make, you know, an 11-foot hammock or 11.5-foot hammock I'm using currently, and it's compatible with all of the top covers and accessories that the Chameleon uses.
Gotcha.
And so that way I can just buy, you know, bug nets and top covers from them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I utterly despise doing bug nets, especially if I'm doing an attached bug net. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I've only made one, and that's what I will continue to just make.
Yeah.
I've kind of played around with the idea of doing one on a bridge hammock, but I haven't found the slot of time to debate about questioning my existence and regretting life choices, because I know in a gather net it's still just a pain in the butt to do.
Mm-hmm. There was a method I used from an old YouTube. I think he was on the forums as well. A guy by the name of Xtrekker. He had a YouTube channel, and he had a really good method for you basically pitch the hammock out as tight as you can. If you have like any head and foot tie outs, you pitch those out as tight as you can. And you kind of like pin the zipper and the bug net onto the perimeter of that, and then cut it out and sew that, and it seems to fit. But that's what I did for our first couple hammocks, and that's it worked, but I'll never do it again. It was
I know exactly the video that you're talking about,
Yeah.
and I think I may have watched that video 500 times.
Yep.
What am I missing?
Yep.
This doesn't look that hard.
There's some black magic involved there. I don't know
Yeah,
how it works.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. So, when you're doing your DIY with your hammocks, what's your like fabric of choice?
Yeah, I've tried to use a bunch of different. I try to kind of every other time I'm going to make something, I'll order from either Dutchware or Ripstop by the roll. I'll just see whichever new fabric they have coming out. The last one I made is a double layer 1.7. I think that mountain fabric that Ripstop has, and it's because I'm a bigger guy and I like to kind of some redundancy in my setup, and that seems to be quite comfortable. So
I think that's what you use a lot too, isn't it, AJ?
Yeah, the 1.7 mountain is, I think, hands down overall my favorite fabric. It just combines all of the there are fabrics that feel slightly softer. For me, you just can't beat the feel of the 1.6 Hyper D. It's just great. But like it also has the rigidity, like there's not a lot of like stretch. It's stupid easy to sew. It folds really nice.
It folds really easy. Yeah. I enjoy that.
So yeah, I completely agree. I've never done a double layer with the 1.7, but even the single layer, even when I was a bigger guy, the single layer is still it totally still works.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have and I've talked about this on the podcast before. I have a little, I think I got a 9.5 foot kind of thing from Ripstop in the 1.7 mountain when they were doing the remnant sale. And I made a short little hammock to put on my back porch in, one of the Walmart stands. Just kind of worked.
Yeah.
And that hammock has been out on my back porch, rain or shine. Now, granted, where it's at, it doesn't get any direct sunlight, but it's been completely outside for going on 4 years now, and
wow.
And it's still rocking.
That's incredible.
When we got back this time from Colorado, I did go out and I noticed one little section on it is getting a little thin. So it might be retiring to a camp chair here very soon, but yeah, I mean that it just speaks to the durability of that mountain fabric.
Yeah, it's incredible resiliency.
So now you've mentioned that you DIY your hammocks, and then a minute ago you said that you have the Winter Palace.
Just the 12 foot with doors.
It's
not the extra wide version. Yeah.
All right, so the 12 foot with doors. Do you DIY any of your own tarps? Yeah,
in fact, that Dyneema tarp is the only one I own that I didn't make. Yeah, that's another project that's you improve every time you make another one. But yeah, those are surprisingly easy to make. I feel just cutting them out is the most kind of painful part of the process, but
I think that's one of the good things that Ripstop was doing. We're plugging Ripstop a lot in this episode.
Those pre-made kits,
those are already laser cuts, and I
did that for a couple. Yeah, I made a tarp, kind of winter tarp for my wife with one of those kits, and that was definitely the easiest project ever. Just because everything's laid out for you, you just have to run it through the sewing machine and you're done. But after that, I started getting into more like custom designs of tarps and things that they didn't offer pre-cut, and so it can be difficult to find space just to lay out that much fabric, and
right.
Especially if you're wanting to add cat cuts and got to figure out how to get some arcs going and. But
so you've designed your own tarps that you've done?
Usually what there was another hammock forums user, like Kitsap Cowboy, and he used to design some incredible DIY tarps. So I would either copy those or kind of modify those slightly, lengthen them, or add some width onto them. But that's mostly what I've done. There was one design he came up with. It's kind of he called it the Badlander. And it's like kind of a take on, it's got like half doors basically. So in between like, full doors and just kind of small peaks. And that's been fantastic, I think, for a little extra coverage on the ends.
Yeah. Warbonnet does a couple versions of that as well. And I agree. Like, I really like the half doors. It's kind of a nice balance between having, the coverage on the end, but not being such much of a hassle if you get out to, water a tree.
Oh, I know. Unclip the door, and it's a whole ordeal.
Yeah, I know the forum user that you're talking about, and I know he hasn't been on the forums for a couple of years. I think there was like some health issues or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. If you're listening and you want some really good blueprints to check out for a lot of different things that he made, Kitsap Cowboy, go check him out on Hammock Forums. He does some really great and informative threads. So
yeah, that was the thing. Not only was the gear he making so kind of original, but the amount of detail he would put into those kind of walkthroughs of making them, and he was really good answering questions and drawing up blueprints and stuff. He was an incredible resource.
Yeah, he was probably one of my favorite DIYers that would post to the forum, and I would follow his, and there was another lady that did some hammock, and she did a tarp one as well. She had a blog post that I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm gonna have to look that up and bring it back in. But yeah, but Kitsap, not only would he explain things, he would also draw out diagrams that you could check out with measurements, and would take a lot of the guesswork of not having to reinvent the wheel every time that you wanted to.
And he would like explain the math on things. If you really wanted to get into, why is this angle this way? He'd break it down for you, like, the calculations, and it was really cool.
That's cool. That's cool. So what are some of the temperatures and weather and all that you've camped in up your way?
Sure. So Pennsylvania is a very erratic climate. We get some extremes in both directions, and so the coldest we've been down to, my wife would kill me for forgetting this, I think it was like -2.
Oh, wow.
We really had to that was a particularly cold winter, but we've been down that low, and frequently we'll get some 90 degree, 95 degree days maybe in the summer, but
gotcha.
Yeah, that's kind of the range. But
what temperature do you prefer to camp in?
I think fall is perfect. I think everybody should agree with that. But
right,
yeah, you are not
cool,
wrong,
but you're not. Yeah. But I do really love winter camping. I feel like it eliminates 3 of the most annoying things about camping. There's no bugs. There's usually no bears, and there's very few people. So just kind of
I can see that
the best. Only the people that you want to be with that came with you, as opposed to just
unless you're here in Florida.
Crowds.
Unless you're here in Florida, then winter, you still have bugs, you still have bears, and you have more people.
And gators. Yeah.
Everybody comes down here to camp during winter.
Plus, you guys actually celebrate fall. See, we don't in Florida.
That's
Everything goes from green to dead.
Yeah.
There's no like pretty transition. It's just hot, dead.
Yeah. It seems like that transition's getting smaller and smaller for us every year too. But it's yeah, the seasons are getting shorter. But
Gotcha. So going back to the DIY, have you tried to DIY any quilts?
yeah, the that's another thing that I like not to mess with if possible. But
Yes, quilts are definitely something I will pay someone else to do.
They can do it better for the same amount of money usually. So yeah, I've made some Costco down throw kind of summer quilts. We still use those in the summer. But everything else are, we both have 20-degree sets and 0-degree sets, and those are all either hammock gear or one of my original 20-degree top quilt that I still use is from Enlightened Equipment. They had like a mass drop years ago to get like kind of a discount, good quality 20-degree underquilt. And I've just loved that thing so much that I can usually either just layer that with something else or get away with that anytime it's not summer. But
yeah, oh man, mass drop. I haven't been to that site in forever.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even know if it still exists.
Going back to the DIYer on hammock forums that also does a really good stuff. Her name was Jellyfish.
Oh yeah. She used to come to MidHHA.
Oh, okay.
Because she was from I think she's from the Jersey kind of crew. And yeah, she would come there and she would do a lot of good cast iron cooking and show off all of her DIY stuff. And she would always do these amazing, like bright, vibrant colors. And she made some really cool projects. And yeah, as somebody who just started getting into sewing when I started DIYing gear, she had a lot of very helpful tutorials early on. And yeah, she makes some amazing stuff.
Yeah, she has a blog and a YouTube channel as well. It's not really updated, but the stuff that's on it is really good. Yeah. I think the blog is called The Jellyfish Report, and I'm not too sure exactly. It must be something like that for her YouTube channel as well. So maybe we can throw those links in our show notes or something like that for those to check out.
Yeah, if we can find them, we'll throw them in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, outside of kayak camping and stuff like that, do you do a lot of car camping or like hiking?
Yeah, I haven't done as much hiking as I used to, and even when I did, I would always do kind of shorter mileage trips, 3-4 miles tops usually. But we do a lot of car camping, and it's just there's so many, especially in the Allegheny National Forest, there's so many places where you could park your car and just walk in, a few hundred yards, and you're in some place that feels really isolated, and you've got a lot of fishing access, that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we've a lot of our camping is stuff you can just do as we've gotten lazier and lazier. Things that you can do with like a Walmart wagon and just pull it back a trail and really load up with all the luxuries you want.
Yeah, we have a hang down here in Florida that happens. I think in February. It's not too long after HangCon, but it's called the Sherpa Hang. It's like a mile and a half. Yeah, about a mile and a half from like the trailhead to the campsite, and people will bring out Sherpa carts. And our friend cool. Oz, he actually trekked in one of the old like Fisher Price wheelbarrow or like just a cart. It was crazy. Yeah. But people will hike out Dutch ovens and things like that, and really.
Where's that one at, AJ? Is that the one at Gator Pond or
Green Swamp or Gator Hole? No, it's not Gator Hole. It's near Frostproof, like Lake Ware or Lake.
What one's at Gator Hole then?
I think that one's a little bit further, or maybe that one's in the fall. But I do know the Sherpa Hang is down there near Frostproof.
Okay.
It's like the lakeside campsite or something along those lines. It's on the river, it's more of a stream. It's usually over President's Day weekend. The reason I remember is me and a buddy of mine that's also a teacher. We had that Monday off, so we just stayed the extra day after everybody else left. So we had that campsite to ourselves. But yeah, that's another really fun hang to go to. Well, speaking about hangs, so you put together a good little hang in Pennsylvania called MidHHA. So tell us a little bit about MidHHA and the origins of that hang, and what can we expect?
Yeah, absolutely. So MidHHA originated from actually the first group hang I went to was the Spring Maha of 2016, and that was at what was the name of that park? Pine Grove Furnace State Park in Pennsylvania. That's I'm sure you guys, if you guys have ever been, it's the halfway point on the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
And that was an incredible experience. And we realized that a lot of us were from kind of the same area, like Western PA, Eastern Ohio, a few from West Virginia, a bunch of crew from Jersey. And we just decided to, we didn't want to wait 6 months to get back together again. And so our crew from one of the campfires in Maha, we all just planned this separate miniature hang for it was the last weekend of July that year. And just to give full credit to the guy who really kind of started it, the guy is named Brett Skinner. He, I think his hammock forums handle was Pensy Camp and Canoe.
Okay.
So he put the original kind of hang together. And there was, I think maybe like 12 of us or so. And it's over the years, it kind of lingered around that number. We had some years where it was, 15, some years where it was just a few. Took 1 year off there for the beginning of the pandemic. And then this year, I think was our best turnout ever. We had about 20, 22 people, I think, at one point.
Awesome.
So it was a really good time.
That was just, last week before?
Yeah. Just last weekend, I believe. Yeah.
So if we were interested in coming to your hang, tell us a little bit, like, is it car camping? Is it hike in, hike out? What type of camping are we talking about?
It's definitely closest to car camping. So there is the Minister Creek Recreation Area, they call it. It's kind of an interesting place. It's got a lot of different things in a very small area. So there's an official campground there. It has like 6 spots for literally car camping, pulling in your car to a spot, picnic table, outhouse at the end of the group camp, the camping area there. And then directly across the street from that, there's a fairly large parking lot and just a trail that goes off into the woods. And if you follow that trail back, just a few hundred yards, it probably goes back for half a mile or so. And there's just a whole bunch of primitive campsites along there that are all free, don't require reservations.
Oh, that's cool.
It's just all national forest land. And so, anything you can, carry or wheel back in a wagon, you can have. And, there's a few people come every day to walk their dogs or go down and use, fish from the stream, but otherwise it's pretty isolated and it's a nice spot to hang out.
And y'all have the hang there, the same place every year?
Yep. Yeah, we've really kind of taken to it. It's got there's a stream that runs the appropriately named Minister Creek, that runs the full length of the trail, kind of, and connects with a larger creek, the Tynesta Creek, about down there.
Okay.
And you've got this constant, white noise of the creek in the background, and the trees just feel there's some kind of old growth, like pines, and
gotcha.
It feels very kind of ethereal. It feels like something out of like Lord of the Rings. It's just it's a really peaceful place.
That's awesome. So is it just like basically like a little friend gathering type thing, or do y'all have any events or raffle or anything like that during this event?
Yeah, it's very low key. We love all those things about larger group hangs, but sure. We just, kind of, there's no plans things. There's no set group meals, although, a lot of people will make things to share, just, a lot of different Dutch oven cooking sometimes, but
right.
It's all very about, everybody can do things at their own pace if they want.
Okay.
There's a hiking loop there that's got some very scenic views and some cool rock formations to see. So if people want to be active, they can do that. If people want to just lounge around and drink all day, they can do that. It's just really no judgment and it's a good chill vibe.
Gotcha. Okay. Those are always fun. I like those.
Right.
It's just get out there with good friends and relax.
No, nobody has to contribute anything financially because we're not paying to use the sites, and everybody just kind of chips in for firewood, and we're good.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really love about all the hangs that we go to, and they all have seemed to have kind of that same vibe. Like if you want to do like the hikes or the kayak trips or stuff like that, there's those options
or like
available.
classes, yeah.
But if you just want to be a lazy bum for the weekend, we're excited to have you too. Like,
you will not be alone.
You will not be alone. In fact, a napping is encouraged.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, you haven't taken a nap
at
today?
least
What's
one.
wrong with you?
No. Well, that's how you stay up later. You got to take a nap during the day.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's really cool that you guys you took your experience from a larger hang like MidHHA, and you said, "Hey, we love this so much that we want to kind of do our own thing in a smaller scale." If we have listeners that are maybe in that same boat where they may be in a place that do not have the hang possibilities, but they know there are people around the area, what would be some of the suggestions that you would give them for starting up their own hang on a much smaller scale?
Well, I think that at the times we were using hammock forums to kind of plan these events. I think now another good resource for that would be like Facebook. If these people connect through these kind of larger any of the larger hammocking groups on Facebook, you can kind of find out who's in your region, and you can kind of put a smaller discussion group together about where to set up a hang. And I think just don't set your expectations too high. Just kind of be cool with whoever shows up, even if it's just a couple, a few groups of couples, or whoever you've got. We just started another. I'm not responsible for starting it. I don't take credit for it, but there's another small winter hang that took place this past I think early January near Pittsburgh. That was just kind of like some local Pittsburgh guys, and one guy came out from Ohio, and I think there was maybe 7 of us, but that was a nice good hang to hang out in the little bit of snow, and I'm sure we're going to do that again next year, and the next year there might be 10 of us, and it's don't be afraid to start small, and just people will come. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, I think that's important for people that are looking to start their own hang and stuff. You really don't want something like a false brawl or a MidHHA or something like that for your first hang that you are.
Don't take on that much.
Yeah, do not do it. In fact, I don't even want to take on the stuff that we do for HangCon, but obviously we're on a suicide pact with each other now, so we literally have to be together. So
it's funny plan. I have a sister-in-law who's the president of a I'm going to make sure I get the terminology right. It's a VFW auxiliary near where she lives. So they support that VFW. They were putting on this big kind of festival to raise money for the VFW, and she was in charge of all this, and she did an incredible job. But she kept, we're all there to help out the weekend of the event, and she kept asking me like, "Do you think I should do this? And should I maybe like add this?" And I'm like, I don't think you need to be taking on any more than you're doing. Like, just stop. Like, it's enough.
I would even say, like, I completely agree with you. And you hear that, Paul? We shouldn't take on anything else.
Yeah.
We should.
5-year plan, buddy.
I hate your 5-year plan.
Double down. 500.
But I mean, I just think I have just as much fun at, the big hangs that we go to. We haven't made it to Trailheads or MidHHA yet. But we go to Fall Sprawl, we go to Spring Swing, and obviously we do HangCon. But we go to like some smaller hangs too, and those smaller hangs, whether they feel, they're going to feel different than like a big massive gathering, but they're no less fun. Like I have a blast at a hang with 10 people as I do a hang with 400 people. Now, granted, the 10 people, I am significantly less tired than I am with the 400. but yeah, I mean, in the case of a hang, size does not matter. You're going to have a blast, and the cool thing about the hammock community is we just have fun. Like the percentage of people that I will never hang out with again at a hang is drastically less than 1%. It's not non-existent, but it is definitely in the minuscule amount.
It's been a fun experience. We try to do a number of group hangs in the kind of larger region around us. We go down to Virginia, and we've been to a couple up in Canada. It's fun to, if you go to enough of these things, there's crossover with everything. There's like one person who will come from a hang down south that'll come to one kind of midway, and one from somebody north that comes down. And it's just, it does feel like an extended family after a while. You see the same people a few times every year, starts to feel like a family get together.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, big family reunion.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, even with HangCon, I keep wanting it to get bigger and bigger. One, because I know it stresses AJ out and it's just fun to see that. But with myself, and I think AJ's the same way, I'm like a huge introvert normally, but these hangs and stuff, I'm not. I'm very, very much more an extrovert than introvert. And I think that's it's neat just having all these people that are like-minded that you can just hang out with and talk to. And
there's a camaraderie. It feels like college. You're all there for the same reason,
right? And you can meet somebody for the very first time, but it feels like you've known them forever. And that's what I love about it. And that's why I don't mind HangCon getting bigger and bigger. And, like I said a second ago, the biggest reason is just watching the stress on AJ's face. Yeah,
torturing friends is the best part of having friends.
Why are we friends? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what are some other hangs that you go to on a yearly basis that people definitely should know about?
Sure. I think a lot of people know about Trailheads. That's one we've started going to intermittently. We don't make it to every hang there. He does several a year, but we're definitely going to be going the spring of next year. John's got a hang set up where the solar eclipse is going to be passing right over where he lives.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're going to have a big kind of hang anybody that has stands, we're going to hang in a cornfield and watch.
Nice.
So that's going to be cool.
So you're going to be hanging in cornfields.
I might just walk into the cornfield and then hang in the trees.
No,
I feel like
see, if everybody has stands, you need to get a projector and
absolutely,
and a big screen. And while you're watching this, the solar eclipse and all that, while hanging in the cornfield, you need to watch Children in the Corn.
Or Field of Dreams, something,
Total different end of the spectrum there.
Yeah. What was that? A Mel Gibson movie, Signs. Signs had a lot.
Signs.
Too.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen it on Facebook come across my feed a couple of times where people are at a drive-in movie theater, like on a lake or something, and they're watching Jaws while in
Jaws.
In the pool. It's like, man, that's intense. That's intense.
I was on an airplane one time, and they were showing Con Air. Was the
nice.
I was like, somebody didn't think this through.
You have one job.
That's awesome.
One job.
Yeah, one job.
So you talk about stands. What type of stand are you rocking?
So the only stand I've used myself yet is because of the DIY thing. I made a kind of conduit, galvanized, conduit pipe stand, and that's the only thing I felt sturdy enough hanging off of. But it's so heavy. It's so heavy and so large and so bulky. I was impressed by the cricket. I saw that people brought that to some of the group hangs I've been at. And so we did jump on the Kickstarter for the Hive. So we are anxiously awaiting that. But every update that comes out about that just whets my appetite.
Yeah,
but,
Kristen and Cal love it when you message them on Facebook asking for Hive updates. They love it.
Absolutely.
Like it brightens their day.
It's their favorite thing.
Yes,
I'm sure
nobody does it.
Nobody does it. They want at least one or two people to do it weekly.
Yeah.
You know.
Otherwise, how will they remember?
Exactly.
Cal and Kristen, we love you. Please don't hate us.
We're gonna start getting hate mail from them now.
But some of the other group hangs I really enjoy going to are down in Virginia. There's kind of two annual, they're kind of the same hang, really. There's one called the Chili Butt Hang and one called Nova for just Northern Virginia. And they're at the Prince William Forest. It's a little bit outside of DC. It's near Quantico, actually. And that's just car camping, but that's a great group of people. We'll do some crazy Dutch oven cooking. And one year we had like a stack of like 12 Dutch ovens cooking on it. Wow. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's definitely that whole Nova group has been one that I've been wanting to check out for a number of years. I'm from Virginia, so I'm not from the Nova part,
awesome.
but yeah, that whole group I've been wanting to check out.
It's a great crew, yeah. A good kind of medium-sized hang.
Yeah. There's also another hang down in Grayson Highlands as well that I've been wanting to check out. That's more of like my neck of the state. So, yeah.
So, do you ever plan on trying to make it down to HangCon?
Yeah, it's been one of those bucket list things for a few years now, and just events keep conspiring to not allow it. But yeah, we've got kind of two bucket list things now are make it down for HangCon, and I think probably within the next year or two that's going to happen.
Awesome.
The other one is to make it up that lobster.
Oh yes, yes.
AJ and I have talked about that one several times.
Yeah, we want to get just a bus of people together and go up, and that would be a good time.
Yeah, AJ and I have talked about that several times, trying to make it up to that one.
If I recall, I think that's coming up like in September, isn't it?
I believe so.
I think it's usually in September. But oh yeah, man. It's hard because that's like at the beginning of the school year. And, it's so hard to take off.
Work gets in the way of a lot of stuff.
I have to work. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Why couldn't we be lucky like that one lady from California that won the $1 billion lottery a couple of weeks ago?
I mean,
probably because I didn't buy a ticket. That's why.
One lady, one person.
Yeah, minor detail.
$1 billion. She walked away with over $600 million.
You know, I feel like I wouldn't even know what to do with that kind of money, even if most of it got eaten up in tax. There was a lady who won in my state. She won the scratch off like $1,000 a week for life. I'm like, that's all I want. I could deal with that. I don't need the millions.
Well, I mean,
just to not have to work.
I know if I ever won, especially what the lady, a couple of weeks won. Because I mean, after taxes and everything, it was almost $700 million.
Yeah, that is.
She won $700 million. Everybody, every one of my family members would instantly be a millionaire, and then all my close friends would be a millionaire also. Yes, even you, AJ.
I could buy so much gear.
That's why you put up with all the
for that chance when he wins the lottery. Absolutely,
just holding out. Yeah,
it's like I wouldn't know what to do with 600. I wouldn't know what to do with $300 million, but gosh, I would love to try. I would love to try to figure that out.
Those are the kind of problems you want to have. Yeah.
I could actually afford a small piece of land in Colorado. A small piece of land in Colorado.
Small, yeah.
And that's where I would go. And you would never see me ever again.
Except for during HangCon.
Yeah. Just look for the house made of Dyneema fabric. Just blowing in the wind.
That would get expensive.
Oh, my goodness.
Lord. That's funny. So, real quick, and then I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I know y'all just had the MidHHA hang, you said last week. It was, the 19th or the 20th, something like that?
Yeah, I believe so. That kind of Thursday through that Sunday. Yeah.
So, do y'all have it the same time every year?
Roughly the same time. Usually it's the last or second to last weekend in July. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next year, before it, we'll have to, a couple of months before, we'll have to have you back on. And,
sounds good. Yeah.
Talk about it, and you can tell everybody about it, and where to go and all that good stuff. But
so where could they find information on the hang?
Sure. So there is we're always posting things on the forums before every hang. And then on Facebook, there's a Facebook group, I think, called Allegheny National Forest Hangers, I believe.
Okay.
If anybody's on the MidHHA group, you can find it through that. It's a lot of the same people. And every time we plan an event, we'll post it there.
Okay. All right. Well, I have just one more question, and I haven't asked this question in a while. But I'll ask this, and then we can go ahead and wrap it up. But my question is, what are your top 3 tips that you would give to somebody just starting off into hammock camping?
Okay, I thought you were going to hit me with the favorite holiday movie, and I was all prepared for that one.
That's an AJ one. That's an AJ one. He can ask you that one in a minute.
Let's see, top 3 tips. First one I think is to kind of know your limits going in. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you've only done kind of 3-season camping before, and somebody asks you to go on like a 20-mile winter backpacking trip, maybe practice first to build up to that. But run before you can, or walk before you can run. But the second one I think is don't be afraid to ask questions. Same thing I tell my students. Like I always give my students this lesson on the first day of class that some people in your life have told you that there's no stupid questions, and that's absolutely not true. Like, there are so many stupid questions. But what I'll say is that even stupid questions are useful. Like, those can be kind of help you figure out the question you should be asking. So I think, and that kind of ties into my third one. I would just say get to as many group hangs as you can, even before you first invest in some gear. Maybe just go, visit a group hang and kind of walk around and check out different people's setups and let them talk to you about their setups, because they will, whether you ask them to or not.
Right.
And
yeah.
And you can learn a lot. Anything that it took me quite a while of time just reading threads and stuff on hammock forums, and you can find all that out in a day just walking around talking to people. So I think that's a very helpful tip.
Okay, awesome.
Get to a group hang.
All right, and now, AJ.
Okay, so what's your favorite holiday movie?
Yeah, talk about leading the question. I thought about it. I got to go with Scrooged, the Bill Murray Christmas Carol movie from the 80s.
Okay.
It's great. It's dark. It's weird. Has an incredible cast. It has Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just always been in love with her. It's a fantastic movie. I think it's probably the best adaptation of Christmas Carol, apart from maybe the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Muppet Christmas Carol. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the Muppet Christmas Carol is definitely a solid.
It's flawless. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
sure.
All right. Now, since we've given me the reins here, so if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
This is the boring one, but I feel like not the question. My answer is boring. I feel like flight. I feel like there's something about the idea of just being able to just soar off, that kind of freedom, that liberation. That's hard to pass up. But
okay,
that's a boring answer.
Okay, so what would be, so you talked about working with your students and stuff, so I'm going to ask a teacher question.
All right.
What is a defining characteristic that you feel like that you have as a teacher that makes you different from the other teachers that maybe teach your classes?
Oh, I'm gonna get myself in trouble with that. I feel like, although I am getting older, I feel like I'm still young enough that I'm on the younger end of the faculty usually, and I feel like I can speak to them on their level a little better, although it's getting less and less every year. But they're not getting my pop culture references anymore. They have no idea who I'm talking about anymore. But Yeah, I feel like I don't have a lot of pretense when I try to have class, when I do lectures. Like it's just I strive for a very kind of conversational atmosphere, and especially for the subject of philosophy. I feel like it just doesn't work if it's just me droning on. It's got to be a more kind of give and take conversation. It worked for Socrates. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. So,
so did Hemlock. Hemlock also worked for Socrates.
Oh, yeah. A little too well.
So you've told us about your scariest night in a hammock. Am I correct?
It was up there.
So what has been your favorite place that you have hung?
I think Minister Creek has to be in the top 3. There have been some. Oh no, I know my answer. So from kayak camping, my favorite place to kayak camp is the Allegheny River. There's a stretch of it that goes. It starts from the kind of PA New York border, and it goes west for a little bit, and then just goes kind of straight down south towards Pittsburgh. And there's a stretch of about 124 miles, I think, that are all Class 1 river. There's no serious rapids. There's no dams you have to portage around or anything. And there's hundreds of these islands like all over the river, and some of them are huge, like 80, 90 acres.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And like about 12 of them are classified as federal wilderness islands, and so they're just free to primitive camp on. You could stay, I think, up to 14 days in one spot if you wanted to.
Really?
And then, it's incredible to take like a long weekend. We've done a lot of Labor Day annual trips we do on that river. You can just take 3-4 days, camp on a different island every night. And it's an incredible trip. There's one island, Hemlock Island in particular. It's near Tidiute, Pennsylvania. And it is just an incredible, you pull your kayaks up onto a beach. There's kind of these steps carved into the side of the dirt there, and you climb up maybe about 12 feet of elevation, and there's just a flat, open pine tree forest full of like hundreds of pine trees you could have perfectly spaced for hammocks, and that's
awesome.
Probably my favorite place to camp.
Awesome. So,
okay.
What would be kind of like your top 3 bucket list of places that you would want to hang?
So we've done some hanging up in Alaska. I would like to do more of that. If I got part of the problem is as much kayak camping as we do, we use these big, heavy kind of ocean kayaks. And some of our Canadian friends and New York friends, they go on these incredible backcountry canoe trips, but they all have these ultralight, 20, 30 pound canoes. And we're lugging these 80, 90 pound kayaks. Like we're not carrying those around the Canadian backwoods, but I think I would really like to try getting into that someday. I would really like to, we spent some time up in Alaska a couple years ago. I would like to do some camping up there. I think that would be incredible. Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are the things that spring to mind. Yeah.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, I really appreciate you, Chris, coming on and talking to us about MidHHA, and we'll definitely add it to our calendar of list of itineraries that we need to get up to.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to see it. We'll see if it's a race to see if you guys come up to this or I make it down to Hancock, which happens first.
There you go. But all right, yeah, like AJ said, it was great having you on and talking to us for a little while. Absolutely. And we'll definitely have you back on again. Like I said a minute earlier, if not before, at least next year, just before next year's MidHHA, we'll have you on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to try to talk my wife into it next year.
That'll work. And if you ever want to just come back on at any other time, just give us a holler and we'll definitely have you back on and we can chit chat some more.
Sounds good. It's great talking to you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Chris. Well, it was good talking to you, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. So we'll put all the links, that we've talked about in the show notes for everybody, and just make sure that everybody follows us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and everything else. Share share about us, leave a review. And until next week, happy hanging, everyone.